Kirk, it's so interesting that, you found such a great niche. When I started my company, believe it or not, we started at age 6. We were ages 6 to 14. The only reason why we started heading to the younger ages was because of parent demand. We didn't have any interest in doing it. It would start out really innocently. Well, my son or daughter's 5 years old. Can they participate in your soccer program or flag football? We said, okay, that's fine. And so we lowered to 5. And then, of course, once 5, it went down to 4. And then before you know it, we have age 3 playing soccer or even flag football, which was great and all, but I saw enough of those games myself. I totally believe and support what you do. There's real good reason why mini athletics does what it does, because a 3-year-old cannot get their arms around playing the game of flag football. It's just, it's too young. And I've always said that ultimately it's about the parents. The parent that puts their kid in 3 years old into a soccer program, it's really about the kid looking cute and the parents enjoy seeing their kid running around up and down the field. But we know it's like, the president of my company, Brian, used to say, soccer at 3 years old is like amoeba ball. Like all of the kids are just going in a cluster with the ball. And it's fun to watch and it's cute, but it's not really teaching the kids the skill of running, jumping, and just movement. I think that is really critically important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And this is one of the things that parents, they see an ad or for mini athletics, and they see the kids running, for example. Usually they're running away from a coach that pretending to be a dinosaur or whatever. And then they look at it and think, oh, my kid loves to run, as if it's unique to their kid. But every kid loves to run, let me tell you, right? And you know that.
Sure.
I actually, my youngest is 7, right? And I don't know if you watch Bluey, Frank.
No, I aged out of Bluey.
You were amazed at Bluey, okay. Well, you should watch it because it's pretty entertaining anyway for us. There's this episode of Bluey I was watching with my 7-year-old the other day, and for anyone that knows Bluey, it's fantastic. But I'm a big fan. And Bluey and her sister were tidying their bedroom, right?
Okay.
And Bluey's meant to be, I don't know, 3, 4 years old. They were tidying their bedroom, going from one side of the house to the other. And the parents in Bluey noticed that they were using different patterns of movement, different ways of moving whilst tidying their room. And this
Okay.
was exactly why mini athletics was formed, because when we went for a walk with Kalen, I mean, he's 11 now. He still doesn't go for a walk. He uses different patterns of movement. He'll like run a bit. He'll skip a bit. He'll sidestep. He'll do all these different things. And that's what we really capitalized on at Mini Athletics, is that the physical literacy needed to play these fantastic sports that you have in the US. What physical literacy do you need to play these sports? And we've worked that out, and we've worked that out in the class, and that is exactly what the class is all about. But above all, it's about having an incredible amount of fun whilst doing it, because if they're not, the chances are they're not going to go on and play those sports anyway. So
Yeah,
that's really what it's about, and that's why it's
true.
so unique.
So, Kirk, tell me a little bit more about your business model. Are you going into the preschools and creating partnerships with preschools, or are
Yeah.
you doing this independently, renting out field space? How does the business work?
Yeah, so there's 5 different programs the franchisee can deliver. So the first is preschools or daycares, nurseries, which is where the franchisee takes the program into that setting. And this is another thing, is that the program can be delivered in quite a small space, because it's not needing of balls and stuff, right?
Sure.
So from a business model perspective, it's a bit of a dream, really. So it can take place in a really small area, small as maybe 10 by 13 yards. So they can go into elementary schools and deliver the program there as well. But also they can have public classes. So public classes, for example, on a Saturday morning, we're just about to open a public class. Our franchisee in Upper Manhattan's just about to open a public class near Central Park, where parents pay to go to the session via the Mini Athletics website, and then they attend the session. And we love those sessions because we get the parents involved as well. They have to do various different things, which is cool. And then camps. So camps is a really big one for us. huge amount of money to be made in camps, and birthday parties as well. So there's quite a vast range of programs that we deliver. We're also really proud of our program in schools. We do school clubs and so on, but we have a really amazing program called Wake Up and Go Go, which is a program specifically with children that have special educational needs. So we developed that 2 years ago, and it's really flown.
That's awesome. Good for you. That I know that type of program is really needed. So
Yeah.
it's great that you guys have taken the opportunity to kind of help that group out. If I was a new franchisee, I got to hit the ground running. You know that there's pressure on us as a franchisor, right? We want our franchisees to succeed, and we want to keep them motivated and feeling really good. What is the quickest, most important program you want them to run first? Is it to go into the preschools, daycare, or trying to run the PE program in an elementary school, or independent?
Yeah, I'd say a public class, because you can hire a field or a community hall, or if the weather's not too good, and by the way, that happens a lot here in the UK. So, and the reason we say that is because you're not depending on anyone. So the daycares and the schools are great, but it relies on you going to those and essentially getting a decision from those as to whether you can go in or to those daycares. So, but a public class, you don't have that. A public class, you can start off renting a field for a couple of hours. It doesn't have to be that big. It's a mobile business, and then the franchisee can deliver that, or their coach they hire can deliver that, and then the parent pays via the website. So you're in complete control. And what we find is from that, word of mouth spreads, and word of mouth spreads into the daycares and into the preschools and the schools, because quite often you get parents that work in these places, and so it's easier to make those relationships from there.
That's great advice. That makes so much sense. You've been doing this a long time now, right? You've been doing this 9 years. You've got between the 40 franchises, in the UK and Ireland, and now the 2 locations in the US. I think you've probably picked up enough common threads on who is really successful in operating your franchise. So would you share who's the type of person that is, that you need, to represent your brand here in the US, and that you think is one who really thrives?
Yeah, I would say that we have a profile of the perfect franchisee, right? But we're constantly amending it because you never quite know. Because essentially what really matters is that they got a passion for what we're doing.
Sure.
Okay. If you just want to buy a franchise because you just want to own a franchise, we're not really interested in you. What we really want is someone that really loves what we are doing and wants to be a part of it and wants to make an impact to their community for the reasons that we all do in the franchise network. We also love the franchise network because we have teachers, we have ex-teachers that have given up their job and become a franchisee, but then we have also people that have given up their roles in marketing and become a franchisee because they love running and sport and kids, inspiring kids and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So what happens is we have this amazing forum where we have different people from different backgrounds adding to the mini athletics network in a way that HQ could never do that, right? I mean, we will have great support, but these people are offering their expertise as well into their business and then sharing it. Mm-hmm. So we don't pigeonhole ourselves to saying, we're just after teachers, or we're just after people with human resources background or whatever. It's really about the passion and what they want to achieve with the business.
Yeah, well, we certainly have a whole lot in common with that. That's certainly a base foundation we want our franchisees to have is, love what they do. I can't wait to hear about your franchisees, since you and I we're cut from the same cloth and running essentially a very similar business. Yeah. I learned that with my franchisees, it was so important to me to teach them how to scale the business. The only way you were successful in running my business is adopting and accepting the importance of scaling, because you can only make so much happen, right, in one little location. So I'm curious with mini athletics, how did you do that? How do you train and inspire your franchisees to scale their business and for them to understand it's more than just the business is bigger than them?
Yeah, I would say that that comes from being inspired by the other franchisees at times. So seeing what everybody else is doing, I would say that we have, right. So going back to that point is that we have regular, what we call continued professional development meetings, which is once every month. We meet on Zoom and we make sure everybody meets on Zoom if they can make it. It's on an evening and everybody gets together, and it's almost like a ideas sharing time, and also where we can put certain franchisees that have done a certain thing very well and expanded into daycares very well and had an idea to do that. Then we can put them on a pedestal and say, right, this is what this person's done. Would you like to present on that? And that helps everybody else because they can see that it's being done. And they can see that it's possible.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.